everyone. In this video we will learn about Compose Multiplatform. Let's continue with that. So in the previous video you can check out how we can create Kotlin Multiplatform app. So regarding Kotlin Multiplatform, so we discussed about like there are two ways we can create Kotlin Multiplatform apps, right? So one was the shared UI. So if you see, there are share a piece of logic, share logic and keep the native UI, share up to 100% of the code. So here we will be sharing the logic only, and UI was the native for Android and iOS. We created that app in the previous video with an example, but today we will be working with the complete Kotlin multi-platform, sharing the UI as well. So for sharing the UI, so which platform which framework we use is Compose Multiplatform, right? So we will be using the Compose Multiplatform. So what is Compose Multiplatform? Let me tell you something about this. So this is a shared UI framework developed by JetBrains. It is based on Jetpack Compose, right? So we use Jetpack Compose in Android, but that we can't use for iOS and other things. So but via Kotlin Multiplatform we can use Compose Multiplatform for all the platforms: Android, iOS, desktop and web. But currently it's for Android, it is similar to Jetpack Compose. Even it uses Jetpack Compose under the hood. But for iOS, it is still in alpha. But yeah, we are good to go with Android and iOS, but still in alpha. But we might expect some migration changes. So once it becomes in beta, then I think we are good to go. But still we can try out. But for desktop, it's stable, and but for web, it is experimental. So in this video actually we will be creating it for Android and iOS. Primary focus will be on Android and iOS, and in the upcoming videos I will be showing you how we can add the web support as well, right? So let's continue with that. Again, it is similar to how we created the video in the how we created the project in the previous video. So we need to go to kmp.jetbrains.com, Kotlin Multiplatform Wizard. So let's name it KMP app 2, right? So we can add a package here. KMP app 2, fine. So what we want to do is in the previous video what we did is, I will put the link in the description of the video so you can check out my previous video. So we created just an Android and iOS app, but without shared UI. We created this option, right? But in the previous video we used the Swift UI and Jetpack Compose for Android UI and Swift UI for iOS UI, but we just shared the logic using the Kotlin multi-platform. But here we will be sharing everything, like we will be sharing the UI and logic both. For UI we will be using the Compose Multiplatform UI Framework, right? So if we want, even we can add support for desktop as well, because that is also stable. And now you can see they have added this support for web as well, but currently it is experimental. So we will not be adding this because still few libraries which are being developed for Kotlin multi-platform does not support the web target. Why? Because their web target is based on now Kotlin Wasp, but we can use Kotlin JS. But I will be creating that video, a separate video on that, how we can use the Kotlin JS for Compose web, right? So then we can use like these along with these. So Compose web we can use along with these, but why using Kotlin JS, not Kotlin Wasp? Because it is still in alpha, right? And this web support is using the Kotlin Wasp is experimental, and Kotlin Wasp itself is also in alpha yet, right? So but Kotlin JS is stable, so we will be using that. So I will be adding support that in the next video. So now let's just continue with these 3 targets. Just download the project and we are good to go. So let's directly download it to where we will be saving it. So where the directory is gone. Okay, let's just as of now download it to the downloads itself, right? We'll pick up it from there. Now let's go there. extract it and just copy it, and then we need to copy it to yeah, KMP and KMM tutorials. Okay, cool. So KMP app, right? And now let's go to the Android Studio, open that. Okay, so KMP app 2, let's open it. So again, let's go through the project structure. So yeah, before that I would also like to say you, so if you are new to the Kotlin multi-platform, so I would like to add few more points, like you need few dependencies over there. You need Xcode, you need to install Xcode, and you should have installed Android Studio, and on Android Studio you should have applied the Kotlin multi-platform plugin, and then you are ready to go with this, right? So again, I'm going through just the project structure so that you will know about in the previous video I have discussed this, so you can check out my previous video on the how to create Kotlin multi-platform app for Android and iOS, but still I am going to just give you a rough overview of this. So here you can see Compose app. It is the complete Compose app here. So here we can see everything is inside this for the shared part, and this is the iOS app. This is for Xcode app. So this is required for the iOS app. Here you can see these are source sets for Android. Source set, this is the common source set. Everything common goes inside logic and both UI and logic both. And then the desktop main, this is the desktop app, and then the iOS main. So this is the like entry point to the iOS app. This is the entry point from the, like, you can say, Kotlin multi-platform. So let's move on to adding the dependencies. Before that, let me introduce about the project what we are going to create. So we will be going to create a e-commerce app homepage here. We will be displaying a list of products, and just we can say we can add a simple search bar there and display a list of products there, and we will be fetching those from the API so that you will know how we can do that dynamically, right? So let's start adding the dependencies. Before that, let's add one more thing here. So we will be using the material 3 as well, right, for the designing. Okay, cool. So now let's go to the dependencies. So let's first of all add the Kotlin X serialization. This library we need for the serialization. So we can go to the multi-platform part. Yeah, here it is. So you can see we need to add this, and let's check out version as well. 1.6.2. Fine. Let's start adding the dependencies here. So as we know, it is the KTS, Gradle KTS. So Kotlin is being used at DSL here. 1.6.2. Fine, it will suggest you move to it. Libs library catalog declaration, right? Let's move it to there, and we need to apply simple plugin also there. If you check, we need to apply this plugin as well. Cool. And now let's add another dependencies. So which another dependencies we required? So which are we required again? So we will be needing the Kotlin Next coroutines as well. Let's add these as well. Let's pick its stable version. Let's only pick the stable version 1.7.3. It's again suggesting you the same. Move catalog there, and then let's add the Ktor for the API calling. So Ktor requires, if we go through there in this sample, if you see, if you click on here, so these are few dependencies which we need to add for Ktor. Ktor client core, Ktor client content negotiation. Content negotiation is for like which type of content we want to accept from the API, right? All those things. And then the Kotlin serialization, these three. So let's pick up them and Ktor version. Let's copy them later. So let's add the Ktor version. Cool. It will ask again to move them to library catalog declaration, right? And then if you see for Ktor, we need to add Android and iOS client as well. So for that we can add Android main dot dependencies 2.3.5. Again we need this for iOS main dot dependencies. Here we need to add it Darwin. Again let's add them to the catalog declaration, sync it. So if you check out my previous video, so there we have in the Android side we have used the view model. So if you are the lover of view model, then the same library here we can, but as you know view model is not supported in iOS or Compose Multiplatform yet, right? But for that we have a Kotlin Multi-Platform library like Moco MVVM we can use for that. If you are a lover of view model and don't want to use anything else, then you can use that. But I will be covering Decompose as well in the upcoming tutorials, so stay tuned for that. So Moco MVVM, let's add that. If you go, so we need to add MVVM core. So actually they have their own Gradle plugins, so but we need to do use this like implementation. They have the something here like you can common main API. They have some their own Gradle plugins implementations there. They have created their custom methods, but we need to use this one, right? So let's add this one, and then the last one, because in the, if you remember, in the Android side we used the in the previous video coil library for loading the images, right? But coil is but very soon coil is also yet to support the Kotlin multi-platform, but still it didn't support it, but very soon it's going to support. But till then we can use compose image loader, right? It supports Kotlin multi-platform, right? It has support for that. So let's add it without delaying anything. Let's pick up inside common main. Okay, let's add it and again move it to the catalog and finally sync it, right? Now we have almost added the main dependencies. Now let's move on to the second part, which is adding the data classes, right, and creating the home repository, right? So for that let's open Postman for testing. So we will be using the fake store API because we want to fetch products, so it provides us products, right? So let's pick it up. Cool, let's check it. I have added that right maybe somewhere in the past. So okay, so this is the API, so let's send it. We can get the response of this, so we will be calling this API, but first we need to create data classes, right? So this is the response. If you see, let's check it. This is the single product response, and so again here need to create a directory data. Then again let's create new Kotlin data class file from Json. If you remember, this is a Json to Kotlin class plugin. It's very useful. It creates the data class for you just from the like response. So let's give it name product, and again few advanced properties there. Well type nullable, it should be nullable. Annotations, which library we want to use, Kotlin X serialization, and let's go. If you see, it had created. Okay, and now what is the next step? Let's create repository, right? Okay, and we also need to create the API client. Let's create API client. Okay, so we will be creating a Ktor client here. So well, HTTP, let's just create it with global scope. Let's install content negotiation. Install is the way how we can install plugins. It's not showing. Yeah, it's showing here. And then let's add the JSON feature here. How we want some configurations for JSON. Let's pretty-lint. It enables debugging prettier, and then ignore unknown keys. This is very important. So if any key is missing, it will be ignoring, otherwise it will be throwing error if we will not setting this, right? HTTP client is ready. Let's move back to the repository. Okay, so finally what we need to do is inside the repository we will be fetching the users. We'll be calling that API using the HTTP client. So let's create suspend function, right? So let's give it a name, get products API, right? Well, response HTTP client dot get. Let's specify that URL here. Cool. And then return response dot body. Fine, so it will be a response list of product, right? So one more thing, if we want to return flow, then we can create that method as well, right? So here we can emit get products API. Fine, we can use any method of these, like whatever you want to use. So now let's, because we have added the Moco MVVM, so we will be creating a view model. So if you will see, it will be very similar to the Android view model. Okay, you can see it's showing Mocha MVVM view model. It's pretty much same, right? And now again, if you remember, we need to create a private val users, and what is its type? Mutable state flow, right? We will be using that. And what will be its type? So initially it will be of empty. You can specify its type, list of product, cool. Then the exposed one, users. So here will be users as state flow, fine. And then in the init, we will be again using the same view model scope. If you see, it's providing the same things, very same things. If you see, this is view model scope, but this is not from the Android view model scope, right? This is, if you check, this is its package is Moco MVVM. So Moco MVVM is pretty similar to the Android MVVM type view model, right? It provides MVVM type view model that is similar to Android view model, right? So then we will be okay. So we need to create one more point. We should not create objects declaration like this, because normally we would like to do this asking the parameters maybe, or maybe we can doing the dependency injection, but that is out of scope of this video. We will be doing all these things later on. So whatever we want to use is, if we want to use flow, then we need to collect, right? So we can use, it will return product, okay. And then what we need to do is I was just remembering about the previous video, so I declared users here, but we need to declare products, right? So let's update products, cool, its previous value plus new value, right? What is previous value? It is empty list, right? Can make it private, cool. This one we will be needing this in the view, right? This is ready. Classes, we added data classes, created home repository, HTTP client, and created home view model as well. So now let's move on to the another part, creating UI. Yeah, so that's the main part now. Okay, let's create the UI. Okay. So what we will be doing is we're creating a simple e-commerce app, right? Simple, just very simple. But you will be learning few things how we can use, we can create an app in the Compose Multiplatform and call the API and display the products and share the UI using the view model, using the repository, using the HTTP client as creator, right? All those things you will learn, right? So now let's move to the UI part. This is the app, and again, if you see, this method is the expect actual base logic. So expect is like in the common we can declare the expect class or method, but then Kotlin expects its implementation from each platform which we have declared, right? Which we have declared. So we declares the targets here. So you can see these are the source sets, but these are the targets: Android target, JVM, iOS, this one, and then we want to define any other one, so we can define for web as well, but that will be covering in the separate video, right? Now let's come back to the UI. This one I just wanted to introduce about few things about Kotlin Multi Platform, right? So this is the UI. If you now let's just run it first and check it. If you see, it works fine for Android. Now let's run it for iOS. If you go all configuration, iOS app, let's run it. Then we will be moving to the our UI part, erasing all this. You can see, so in the Android, using the set content, same as we are doing in Jetpack Compose. Then we can go to the desktop. Here we can use the application, and then the window. Inside that we define our app content, iOS side. As I explained earlier, here we need to add UI view controller, that is the main component for entering the UI on the iOS side. If we see it is running and it's cool, right? So let's close it. First we'll be checking the UI on the iOS side. So okay, now let's come to our app UI. Fine. If we go here, so if you see, yeah, let's just create a composable here. Fun. You can name it app content. Okay, so here we will be using the home view model, right? Or maybe we can pass it as a parameter here, right? And we can get it directly from here, right? And now what we need to do is, well, products. So we will be fetching the products, right? Again, home view model dot products dot value. Fine. But that is not the correct way, but we are collecting as state, right? And now let's come to the UI part. So what we are going to do is, we will be using the box with constraints first, because it will provide us the width. So if we want to define the same layout on the desktop or web and on the mobile, so few differences should be there, right? If we displaying 2 grids in the Android app, it should display 3 grids or maybe 4 grids on the desktop or web, right? So it will provide us the available width of the device. So we can use box with constraints. So we can use its scope and then max width, scope dot max width. And usually we can as in Android, we apply the window size manager classes there, window size classes. It's with similar things we can achieve with this, because currently that is not supported yet here, but few libraries are there which supports, but we are not using currently those. You can just directly apply check here simply, right? So let's say if we have at 40.dp greater than 40.dp, so how many columns we want is inside the grid. Let's say normally we want 2, and We will be doing one more thing here. How much width we want to use. So on mobile we want to use full width, but in case of desktop or web, what we want to do is we can use how many columns. We can use maybe 3. We can make it where and modifier equal to, so we can define width in, so we can limit it to the maximum width. It will limit it, right, to the maximum width. So how much? Maybe we can 1080 dp as of now, right? Now let's take one column, and inside this column we can define the vertical arrangement dot center, horizontal alignment dot center horizontally, right? And modifier fill max width, right? And now as we are displaying the grid of products, right, so we want to use lazy vertical grid, fine. And inside that, so what we will be applying is we need to define columns, grid cells. If you don't know about lazy vertical grid, I have his video on this in the Jetpack Compose tutorials. You can check out that. Grid cells dot fixed, so it will be dynamic, right, depending upon the width. Cool. Okay, and in case we need to manipulate this from somewhere else, we can define it lazy grid state here and apply it here. Its state, scroll state, right? So now let's add one more thing. We can use content padding as well. Padding values 16.dp. So I am assuming you know basic of Jetpack Compose. That's why I'm not going in depth of every composable. So you can check out my course, Jetpack Compose tutorials course, for that on YouTube. So so what I will be displaying first. First of all, let's just display the items. Then we will check. Then we will see what else we can display, right? Products, key, right? And so inside key, let's add our ID. Okay, let's name it right. Okay, product dot ID items. Yeah, so we are using this state here, right? We not need to use value, fine. So product dot ID dot toString as it is nullable, right? And here again let's use card. Okay, shape. Which kind of shape we want to use is rounded corner shape. How many? 15 dp. Modifier dot padding. So let's apply 8 dp and let's fill max width, right? Even we can apply elevation as well here. So first we will displaying the image, and below that we can display the product name, right? Or price as well maybe. So here we need to use what? Column, right? And again let's copy these so that we don't need to type them again. Okay, and now let's come to the image, and here we need to use, so here we need to actually, we have one issue, we didn't set up the Compose image loader. We need to set that up. It requires some setup. So let's do it setup. If you see in Android, it's like this method we need to pick up, and we need to add it in the top, like inside the activity, right? If you see, fine, again, okay, and here we need to add composition local provider. See how we are using, we can check it here, no need to worry. Yeah, here it is. So we can do this. Okay, method brace issue was there. Okay, cool. Similarly we need to apply this way for each platform, right? So we can pick up that easily. So for iOS, let's do it inside the iOS main, right? It will import your directories. Fine. And now again let's pick up that way. In each platform we need to add this. Cool. Now let's add it for desktop as well in JVM. If you see, for this we need to check out the app as well. We will go there once. Let's add it first. Okay, fine. So let's import. Okay, cool. And now let's import this. We need to check app he mentioned here. So let's check in the app example. If we go here in the desktop, then here, let's see how he has implemented this. Yeah, so here it is. Let's copy it and add it here. Fine, let's import file. Okay, and let's add application name as well, a constant, but we can add our application name here, that is right. Cool. Okay, now it's done. Let's go back to the app. So we were here, now let's continue with that. So we need to use painter here. So as we do with coil, so we use remember sync image painter there. So similarly we can use remember image painter URL. So here we can, okay, we need to last that items for naming convention. Let's slice it. Product dot image dot toString as it is nullable. Okay, cool. Okay, and what else we can do is we can apply some modifiers here, and we can apply padding and height. Okay, so how much height we want is 130.dp, let's say. Okay, cool. It requires content description. We can give it product or title at least. Okay, cool. And here we can display the text and product dot title and max lines we can define 2 text, and then we can define overflow, ellipses. Okay, and more what we can apply is I think we can restrict it, because for some cases line title can be 2 lines or in 1 line, so height will vary for that, for our image, or you can say for grid. Let's run it first. I will show you. Looks cool. Okay, so if you see like you can see here, so it is 1 line, the height of the grid is varying, right? But if we define some specific height for this, so we can specify mean height for this, right? Okay, and let's say define padding for image as well. Padding 16 dot, or maybe 8.dp, and similarly we can define modifier dot padding 16.dp, and height in we can define minimum height at least. So how much? Let's say 40.dp, right? It looks cool, right? What we can do is, now it looks good. So suppose let's say title is in 1 line, then also it will show fixed height for this text, and this height is also fixed, this is also fixed, so grid height will be remain fixed, right? It will look good, right? Okay, cool. Now let's say just show a simple search bar over here so that it will look good. So for that, what we can do is, this is the items, and here we can add an item, and We can specify span as well. So how many columns we need to define for this span? Grid item span equal to calls, whatever calls we are using for grid, right? So here what we can do is we can just define a simple search bar, right? This is the composable provided by material 3, right? Modify.fill max width. Then let's say query. We will not be implementing this functionality, but let's add it for the so that UI will look good. Then on active change, on query change, and what else it requires? First of all, let's add experimental API. This is still experimental. What it's saying? On search, and finally the content, right? And we can specify placeholder as well. Search products, right? Okay, cool. Let's try to run it. Let's see how it looks. It looks good, but we need to add some space below this, right? Okay, let's take it inside the column. Modifier dot height. Okay, cool. It should look cool now. Even we can display price here. If you see, it looks good now. Yeah, products are loading. It looks cool, right? And also we can specify its icon. Leading icon. We can specify icon and vector image vector icons dot default dot search content description null, or maybe search. Okay, cool. It looks good. Okay, yeah. So here we want to do is what we want to do. Let's just add only horizontal padding here, horizontal, and then let's say add spacer. Okay, cool. Similarly, let's make it like this. Okay, again. Okay, so inside price, maybe you would like to append INR or dollar, maybe whatever. So INR we can specify. Okay, let's run it. It looks good, and now let's maybe we can align as well. Yeah, now spacing looks good. Okay, now what we can improve? I think it's done. Let's try to run it. I think we can do one more thing. Align dot start, right? That should be the first parameter. So now we can take it inside box and then align it, right? Take a box here and apply alignment inside the box. Content alignment dot start. Fill the available width. Center start, right? I will share the code of this link in the description of the video. So sometime API takes longer. Yeah, it looks cool. So now yeah, we create this UI and how it looks on Android. Let's check it. Yeah, it requires internet permission. Uses permission internet. Cool. And also let's meanwhile open the desktop app. We'll try to run it now. You can see it looks good. Yeah, it looks cool, right? So now let's try to run it for desktop. It's some error there. Don't worry. So what we can do is, let's say, remove this configuration. Okay, cool. And what we can do is we can adjust normal Gradle configuration. We can name it desktop app and it will run. We can call it desktop test run. Right, how I did that, let me give you. So inside the Compose app, even we can directly run. It should pick that automatically, this main file. Yeah, it is picking now. So if you see, but now it does not support scrolling, right? And if I make width, so if you see that logic is applied here, if I increase the width, it's displaying 3 grids here, right? So again, what we can do is we can make it at least scrollable like this, but usually on the desktop and web we need to show scroll bar. That is out of scope of this video. I will be doing that in the separate video where we will be creating a separate app, complete app, right? So what we can do is quickly, let me go to here, and so what we can do is we can directly add the modifier or draggable here, right? And also let's make it in the left aligned. Okay, okay, text align. Okay, right, this will also be in the left. And now let's, what we are doing is draggable support, right? So it's pretty easy. So what we can do is we can add modifier dot draggable to our lazy grid. modifier, let's add comma, modifier dot draggable, and then we need to apply some logic over here. Orientation, it will be orientation dot vertical, and then we can do is state equal to draggable state, and we can remember that state, remember draggable state, and inside this, so we need to scroll state dot scroll by it. It provides the delta on drag, how much amount we are dragging, so that much amount we can scroll here, right? Now it requires Kotlin scope, yeah, suspend function. So what we can do is remember Kotlin scope, and then Kotlin scope dot launch. If you see, it's scrollable now, right? We can further make some improvements in it. We can make it fix title bar, we can show some title there, display the list of products, add to cart, we can whatever, how much we want to extend, we can extend this. So, and similarly a similar look it will show on the web as well, right? So guys, that's all about this Compose multi-platform tutorial. So here we saw like how we can share the UI completely for Android and iOS app, and even for desktop as well. In the upcoming video I will be adding the web support to this app, so I will show you how we can add the web support, because if you see in this wizard they have added the web support, but that is the by Kotlin Wasm, that is so composed by Kotlin Wasm is not yet stable, but Kotlin JS is stable, so I will be adding that support. So I will show you guys how we can add that. Then we will be running this app on the web as well. So okay, that's it all for this video. I hope you guys have liked the video. If you like the video, a humble request, please like, share and comment. That will motivate me to create videos from my tight schedule. So that's it from this, and I will see you in the upcoming video. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding.